monthly board meeting of the Srrwd River Watershed to order. We have a few agenda changes here. First one will be to change 8E from a motion to a resolution. And we're going to add an 8H, and that's about the RAPS and the TMDL. And create a 7D on the Personnel Committee. Any other changes to the agenda? Hearing none, I'd like to have a motion to approve it.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 3 is a public forum. Anyone from the audience that would like to speak? Okay. Item 4 is approval of minutes. I'm going to go into motion on each one of them, evidently. So 4A is a motion to accept the minutes of the April 29th Advisory Committee meeting.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 4B is a motion to approve minutes of May 10th regular board meeting.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 4C is a motion to approve minutes of May 24th special board meeting.
I can make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 4D is a motion to approve the minutes of the May 24th board workshop.
So moved.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Okay,
You can have them both, guys.
all right. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Item 5 is a treasurer's report. Motion to approve the May 2016 treasurer's report subject to audit.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 5B is a motion to approve the May 2016 non-property treasurer's report subject to audit.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We have a Lakes Foundation report.
Laura is getting married this weekend, so I don't think she'll attend today.
Oh, okay. That'd be a good reason, maybe. I suppose she's a little busy.
A little busy, yep.
Item 7, Director Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have the city engineering department here today, Steve Yonke, to address the issue on stables. I know Manager Bakken wanted us to have an open discussion. As we know, the bonding bill didn't pass, and we're still in limbo at that point. And I think Steve's got just a little bit of insight of what the city's intentions are going forward, and any comment from the managers, how you guys want to proceed.
Thank you. I'm Steve Yonke from the city of Albert Lee. Yeah, as Brett said, I think in the bonding bill we had two things going. We had requested $1 million toward the project in grant funds, and that was moving forward in both the House and the Senate. And actually, so it was looking fairly positive that we may get that. Also, with the PFA funding, we were working with Anita Galantine, and if they would have got the funding that they had proposed, we would have either been able to use the $1 million grant that we were requesting, or it looked like there was money that we would have been eligible for a similar amount of grant money through the USDA. So it was looking fairly positive both ways, but with things happening as they did, basically, we don't have funding in either one of them right now. So if they go back and do a bonding bill or fully fund the PFA, it looks like it sounds like we will have the money to move forward. If neither one of those happens, we will probably be waiting another year and reapplying for money. Any questions?
Well, I guess mine would be, you know, we've started in that area of the watershed district, you know, back in '07, you know, and stuff, so. I think the watershed district has done as much as we can do. We've tried to bring the parties together, the county and the city, and we've hosted the residents, you know, on a couple of public hearings and meetings and stuff, so. It's just, you know, we're working on dredging and we'd like to see that area done. So I guess I'd like to kind of know what Plan B is, you know, this summer, if we can put something together with the county and the city and with the help of the watershed to solve the problem, you know, so.
And the county has put $300,000 toward it. You guys did you're working on it right now, the project, you know, for the stables and that's out at the landfill. So if we get the $1 million grant or if PFA gets funded, you know, we will have the money to move forward, but without one of those two, the city is not going to pick up that other additional $1 million when we know if we wait another year, we're more than likely going to get that funding. So that, you know, it doesn't make sense to us to move forward when we know that you know, we're going to get the gap money, whether it's in 17 or whether we have to wait one more year. We're still hopeful that, I mean, Anita Galantine, I just talked to her last week, she's still confident that they're going to go back into a bonding bill, but you know, that's coming from the PFA, not necessarily the legislatures. But.
As you know, like Alan's rightfully saying here, we're trying to get everything cleaned up before the dredging.
Yep.
And this is one that we've been on for a long time, so.
We've been,
as you well know.
In 1999, I have a set of plans that we were moving forward with it, so.
Right, so.
We do have the plan set. It's not completely done, but we're about 85% done with the plans and specs. Jones Hagen Smith has worked on that, so we're ready. When the money's there, we're ready to move forward. And we talk about every 4 months with the township just to make sure that they're still on board, and they are. So we have everything in place. Other than we have to go back to the people and again ask them to repetition to do it. But again, we're not going to ask them to do that until we can fund it.
Does the golf club property that the watershed own play a role in this solution?
Not really. It's really, we've got, like I said, all the funding is in place. We just need to go back to the people and ask for a petition. If the bonding happens or if the PFA gets funded, we're ready to move forward.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I'm sorry, Steve, what was the total project cost?
It was about I believe we're at 2.9. I'd have somewhere in there. It was $1 million. Basically, we were going to get $1 million from bonding. The residents were going to pay about 1.2, and the county was going to. Basically, the city and the county had another $300,000 or $400,000 each in there. Is the estimate.
Okay. Has there been any more discussion on tax abatement?
There's been discussion, but until we know we can move forward, we've just been pushing to get that, either the PFA funds or the $1 million before we went any further with anything else.
And so that would assume the county or the city's willing to help fund that gap as well,
Absolutely.
between the residents
Yeah,
and then the $1 million from the bonding.
If we get the $1 million, the city is committed to whatever the gap is to make with the county's funding and what you've did with the stormwater piece of it. We're gonna. I mean, the council hasn't voted on it, but they've in all of the meetings have said yes. We're gonna make it move forward.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve, for coming. In your packets, you'll see the crop insurance layout. Manager Bakken and I met with our crop insurance representative, and that's what,
So this is on the ag property, that will be the,
CDI site property?
yes, this is the CDF site that we, there we go, that we seeded into soybeans. The rate would be $6.40 per acre, total cost of $3,200. Amount of liability insurance is $44,500, and that's covered, if it was covered in full, at $500 per acre. There's options to go less or more, but I think under Manager Bakken's recommendation, I think that's an appropriate rate.
Now, the liability insurance, what's the liability for on that? Explain that to me a little bit.
Well, this is for hail insurance.
Okay, it's hail insurance, crop insurance, it's not liability like we
right,
take
and
out.
this would be normal crop insurance,
Okay.
like
I see,
Richard Stadheim's other property, so.
okay.
We're looking for a motion to approve this crop insurance.
Yes, I've signed the contract and just need approval from the board.
All right. I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Mr. Chair and managers, at one of our properties, we had a old barn that was dilapidated, finally fell down. We've been approached by about 14 individuals, I believe, that would like to remove the wood. Our legal firm has come up with a liability form that each one would sign, and they would be welcome to go in there and remove all the lumber, and then also clean up the site and put it into the dumpsters in which we provide. So I'm asking for a motion to approve the removal of the barn in this process. I know we could just get an excavator out there and bury it and be done with it, but if there's people from the community that would actually see some value in that barn wood, so I thought it would be all right if they went in there.
So it may be a motion to approve that you handle it?
Sure.
One thing that I might say is, when a lot of times these people come in and they take what they want and they leave the rest, and then they're gone. So I would suggest that if they come in, we say, okay, give us $500 check, and when it's done, complete, and everything's cleaned up, you get your $500 check back. That just will ensure that they will stay long enough to clean up the site, because I've seen what happened when they'll come in and take what they want, and skeleton and everything's laying there, and then we still have to bury some of it.
Right. Could we do like a $100 check?
Whatever.
I'm okay with that. Andy, are you okay with that? You know some of these people that are interested.
Yeah, that would be fine with me. I also made it very clear to them, Bruce, that if we allow this, that they have to clean up the whole thing. It's not just
Yeah,
a
yeah.
piecemeal. So I made it very clear to them that if they're
Okay.
going to take on this challenge, that it has to be totally cleaned up. And that's why I said we'd provide the dumpsters for all the shingles and all the garbage and junk. So
Okay.
Matt, am I correct in asking here, or saying that we've got the motion to have Matt Brett to handle it?
Yeah, it's just, it's one of those that it's on the borderline whether the board should review, but we thought it was wise for the board to approve it, review it, and give Brett authority to make it happen. The board has authority to dispose of excess items without doing any kind of formal bidding or any process, so this was just a formality. So yeah, I think a motion to approve removal of the barnwood and give Brett authority to negotiate the terms with the vendors or the contractors, however you want to phrase it.
Okay. Someone care to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. Chair, the final thing on my agenda is 7D that we added at the beginning of the meeting. We need a personnel meeting, and the Personnel Committee has met, or at least discussed, as we've dealt with this in the past when new offers come in and there's potential of personnel leaving. And so what we've done in the past, we've made an offer to try to retain our staff. And we're in that position now. We've been in that position before. And it's the appropriate time of year to look at the reviews at any rate. So, but I would need the board to move swiftly and promptly on this issue and be able to make a solid offer prior to going back in front of the full board in order to, because we have to be reasonable with the staff that has a, and this is not new. This has happened before when they've only got so much time to respond to an offer. So Bruce and Gary are both on the Personnel Committee, if either one of you want to comment.
Go
I
ahead.
feel it's very important that we retain our staff. We're in a very busy time, and it would be very hard for us to get new people in and train, and I feel that the people on our that work for us do a very good job and work very hard. So it's important that we meet and
When is our next board meeting? I'm assuming it's the 28th, is that correct?
Leah, do you know?
Are we having a second one this month, Andy? We discussed that this morning?
Yes. 9
The
o'clock,
28th.
28th, yep, or 8:30, excuse me.
So at that meeting, it would be on the agenda
It would be on the
for
agenda.
the changes
Yeah.
and the Personnel Committee recommendation. Okay? The 28th at 9 o'clock here,
8:30 here.
8:30 here. Okay. Director of Field Operations, Andy?
Thank you, Chair and Board. As you can see, I got quite a few items on the agenda, so we're gonna try to plug through them right away. The first item is item A, a motion to approve the 60% engineering report for the Pickerel Lake Dam. Again, we were talking last month about showing the board some pictures of what the dam looks like now and what state the dam is on Pickerel Lake.
Looks
So if you
good.
look up here on the screen,
Just kidding. Looks good.
if you look up here on the screen, you'll see this is the Pickerel Lake Dam. You can see we got rebar showing. This is pretty much looking across, a bunch of concrete missing in the dam. Again, rebar showing in quite a few locations of the dam. So that gets us into the actual 60% drawings. And the real reason to start approving the 60% drawings is, there's still a lot of work to move this project forward. But this is the first step in what we have to do, is sending this to Bowser and DNR for their review. And there's a 30-day review time there for the Bowser review. So to get this in front of you and just get the 60% plans report, or excuse me, 6% plan report approved. That way we can send it on to both Bowser and DNR, and then also continue with all the work that we need to do to move this forward. We are at the stage where we will be looking now to have the meeting with the Pickerel Lake Subcommittee. We are trying to right now get a few more members of that subcommittee. We do have a few names that we have been contacting to get that meeting going. We're also running into, and just update the board, we're also running into a little bit of a ownership issue on who actually owns the dam. There has been due diligence done by both our engineering firm and our law firm on trying to figure out ownership. I was always under the assumption that it was a county-owned dam. What we are finding out is that it's more than likely a state-owned dam, but again, none of that is clear right now, or I should say is as clear as mud. So we'll be doing a lot more due diligence on trying to figure out ownership prior to moving this project totally forward. So with that, if you have, I just have another picture here. Again, this is showing the easement area from County Road 46 down through where our Mud Lake Fish Barrier is to the dam site, which is this little circle. And I got like 6 lasers in front of me, so let me see if I can point that out. So the dam actually sits right down here. This will be our work area. This is Picker Lake here, and this is Mud Lake here. County Road 46 runs here. And again, these are just plan details. Again, they're not set in stone. Again, it's only 60%. But this is kind of a rendering that WSB did for us. So what we're looking at here, Picker Lake would be in the background. This is actually a fish ladder, which is part of the LSOHC grant for habitat, is to allow northern pike from spawning or getting back into the lake for spawning. This is the actual drawdown structure here. This would be the catwalk to operate the drawdown structure at whatever time it is deemed necessary to use that. So this is sort of a concept, remembering that the Picker Lake Dam is only roughly 18 to 24 inches tall. So it really is, you know, under DNR dam classification, it's not really even classified as a dam. You have to be greater than 6 feet. But it still goes through all the dam safety permits and stuff like that, so. Any
That's a
questions?
cement dam? It kind of almost looks like it could be sheeting, but it
No,
is-
this will actually be sheeting.
Oh, it is sheeting.
Sheet piling, yep. This will be sheet piling with a cap on the top. These will be aluminum stop logs that can be pulled. This would be a aluminum catwalk. So it'd be similar to, you know, the Albert Lee Lake Dam is, of course, a rock riffle, but there is sheeting around the main portion of that dam too. Most of the new dams in the county, whether it's Geneva, you know, those are all sheet pile dams as well.
Okay.
The height of the lake will be the same as it always has been?
Yeah, right now, I think we're estimated at 75 years for life expectancy.
Yeah?
He was asking about the level of the lake.
The level? The level of the lake will not change. That's a standard. When you go for the permits, you need to meet the same elevation as the existing dam was. So the elevation of the lake will not change.
Who, if it had to be changed, who would authorize that?
If it
One way or
had,
another?
as far as changing the height of the dam?
Or the height of the water, the depth of the water? You know, you're saying that it's gonna be kept at whatever the normal level is, but for some reason, if somebody comes in and says, we need to lower it or raise it, who's gonna authorize that?
Yep, exactly. And so what you're talking about is the use of the drawdown structure itself for lake manipulation, water level manipulation. What would have to happen is there would have to be a plan, a lake management plan in place. There would have to be a 75% sign off by landowners, and basically with that, they'd develop a committee, like we have a Picker Lake subcommittee, to develop that plan. And then at that time, where we have all the landowner sign-offs, then we could work with DNR for the manipulation of that lake. So it's a quite lengthy process. It would be the same process that we'd have to go through for the Albert Lee Lake Dam if we ever wanted to use that drawdown structure as well.
Thank you.
Got a question? Is there, excuse me, is there gonna be public access to the dam or not?
There is public access. If I go back here. This whole area is actually state property now.
Okay.
So anybody, and there's actually state access, from County Road 46 right here to actually walk down and use this whole piece of property, which would make this public, yes.
Okay, thank you.
If it's a state-owned dam, would not they be responsible for maintenance or replacement totally?
Yeah, we would have a joint powers agreement with the state of Minnesota on maintenance and operation, or O&M, of the dam. So, yes, and, you know, that language and that paperwork hasn't been developed yet, but we would definitely have you guys review that and have to sign off on the joint powers agreement as we move forward. Which would be the same way if the county owns it, we'd have a joint powers agreement with them as well.
So bottom line, who's paying for it?
Bottom line, this is coming out of the Lesage Sam's Outdoor Heritage Funds grant dollars that we received 2014-15 fiscal year, which we received roughly $2.4 million. So this is one of the projects out of that group of projects.
There's no problem at all with the height or the channel from the dam through Mud Lake to Fountain. Is that correct?
Correct. The one thing, and let me go back to the photos here. The one thing that we'd have to do at a later time, if we are ever to use this structure, we would need to, at some point, dig a trench from the lake to the structure so we could dewater, you know, what it would be expected to dewater.
Well, Mud Lake is functioning as a sediment removal facility, and it's kind of a natural one. It's doing a good job doing it. I just want to make sure that the depth and the elevations work correctly here.
Yep, and as far as the dam elevation, you know, it almost takes an act of God to change levels with working through DNR. They don't let you increase heights or decrease heights.
Right, and
so
there's
we're
no
pretty
one
much-
asking to change the level.
Nope, I agree, but just so you know that the
What I'm-
elevations will be.
What I'm more
the
concerned
original.
with, Andy, is the discharge. But there's no problem with the discharge going through Mud Lake to Fountain Lake.
No, there would not be any issues at this time with discharge.
Okay, are we looking for a motion to approve 60% engineering report for Picker Lake Dam?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you. And just a reminder on this one, you guys will also be seeing the 90% and final designs and vote on that as well, so. Item B is just a motion to send the engineering report for the Picker Lake Dam to Bowser and DNR for review and comment.
Someone care to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? This is normal procedure.
Correct.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you. Item C is a resolution 2016-10 project plan for the confined disposal facility. This we did not print out for your packets for two reasons. One, it's 132 pages long. The other is it's not a final draft, so I do not want a draft in your packets. We did email it out to everyone for their review. If you do want a paper copy, we can send that to you. But basically what it is everything that was in the BODR that you already have with the design report for the CDF. And again, for timing reasons, the objective here is to approve the CDF as it is in the BODR and project plans to get this moved on to the engineering report to Bowser and DNR for comment and review.
And being Brett isn't sitting here, who would like to read this resolution?
Andy volunteered.
It was handed to me, so. We have Resolution 2016-110 Fountain Lake Resolution Project Confined Disposal Facility, project number 2013-02. Approved project plan for confined disposal facility. Whereas the Shell Rock River Watershed District Board of Managers pursues the mission to improve water quality within its boundaries. Whereas the Shell Rock River Watershed District is charged with implementing the Shell Rock River Watershed District's watershed management plan. Whereas project goals and objectives set forth in the plan include implementation, rehabilitation that improves water quality and clarity in Fountain Lake, employ lake management techniques to restore and improve aquatic vegetation, consolidation, removal, and stabilization of lake bottom sediment, control of rough fish population, enhance aesthetic values, to reduce water and wind erosion, reduce soil loss during storm events, and to reduce sediment delivery to surface waters. And whereas in 2005, Albert Lee voters overwhelmingly approved a 0.5% sales tax to fund local water projects. Whereas the district has pursued a comprehensive watershed approach to reduce sedimentation to improve water quality, including filter strips, rock inlets, nutrient management systems, water and sediment basin installations, rough fish management practices, installation of fish barriers, septic system inspections, stream bank and ditch restoration projects, and the installation of rain gardens. Whereas the district initiated the Fountain Lake Restoration Project on January 8th of 2013, whereas the district has identified numerous project goals and objectives from the plan that are accomplished by this project. Whereas Minnesota Session Law 2014, Chapter 295, Section 2, Subdivision 3, appropriated $7.5 million from the general fund for a grant to the Shell Rock River Watershed District for sediment removal and cleanup of Fountain Lake, including engineering, design, permitting, and land acquisition for deposit of removed sediment. Whereas on February 18th, 2016, the district contracted with Natural Resource Technology for the design of the confined disposal facility. Whereas the Board of Managers has presented with the engineering proposal for the construction of the CDF for the project dated June 3rd, 2016 from Natural Resource Technology. Whereas the Board of Managers, having reviewed the project plan, has determined that approval of the project plan will further the objective of the plan. Therefore, the Board of Managers hereby find that the project has the potential to promote the public interest and welfare and practicable and conforms to the watershed management plan as set forth above. Now therefore, be it hereby resolved that the Shell Rock River Watershed District, Section 1, approves the Fountain Lake Restoration Confined Disposal Facility Project Plan to be sent to the Board of Soil and Water Resources and Department of Natural Resources for review and comment. Section 2 authorizes district staff to conduct work as needed to present this project to the board for final review and public hearing as required by law. Approved by the Board of Managers of the Shell Rock River Watershed District on the 14th day of June 2016.
Would someone care to introduce that resolution?
I'll introduce it.
I'll second it. Resolution.
Okay, any discussion? Call the roll.
Manager Delger?
Aye.
Manager Hogstall?
Aye.
Manager Pasuski?
Aye.
Manager Bakken?
Aye.
Manager Pistorius?
Aye. Item 8D, Andy.
Thank you. The item D, as stated in the resolution I just read, just a motion to send the engineering report to Bowser and DNR for review and comment. Again, this is just a formality, with 103D, and this is just how we go through the process of initiating our projects and working through our project list with 103D.
I'll make that motion.
A second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Item E, this is one of the changes to the agenda we made. Instead of a motion to approve the dress purchase agreement, we're asking for a resolution to approve the dress purchase agreement.
We have a resolution?
Resolution 2016-11, Fountain Lake Restoration Project Authorization to Purchase Agreement on Dress Property. Whereas the Shark River Watershed District Board of Managers pursues the mission of implementing reasonable and necessary improvements to the water-related and natural resources within its boundary, whereas the Shark River Watershed District is charged with implementing the Shark River Watershed District Management Plan, whereas the project goals and objectives set forth in the plan include implementation, rehabilitation, that improves the water quality and clarity of Fountain Lake, employ lake management techniques to restore and improve aquatic vegetation, consolidation, removal, and stabilization of lake bottom sediments, control of rough fish populations, enhancement of aesthetic values to reduce water and wind erosion, reduce soil loss during storm events, and reduce sediment delivery to surface waters. The goals, whereas in 2005, Albert Lee voters overwhelmingly approved a 0.5% sales tax to fund local water projects, whereas the district has pursued a comprehensive watershed approach to reduce sedimentation and improve water quality, including filter strips, rock inlets, nutrient management systems, water and sediment basin installations, rough fish management practices, installation of fish barriers, septic system inspections, stream bank, ditch restoration projects, and the installation of rain gardens. Whereas in furtherance of the project goals and directions of the citizens in the district acquired a dredge in 2012, whereas in furtherance of the project goals, the district obtained funding approval from the state of Minnesota for up to $7.5 million pursuant to Minnesota Session Laws 2014, Chapter 295, Section 2, Subdivision 3, for the sediment removal and cleanup of Fountain Lake, including engineering, permitting, and land acquisition for deposit of removal of sediment and actions related thereto. Whereas the resolution 2013-02, the board authorized the district staff and the district attorney to negotiate the area landowners for any necessary easement or fee title acquisition subject to approval by the board. Whereas staff has reviewed the numerous properties in the district for potential locations for sediment removal and project staging, and has identified project compromising of approximately 13.35 acres located in the northwest quarter section of southwest quarter section 29, Township 103 North, Range 21 West, as a proper location for such activities. Whereas the district has completed additional investigation on the address property and further clarified the boundaries of the address property. Whereas the district has presented a final purchase agreement for the purchase of the address property at a purchase price that is within 110% of appraised value of the property in the same section and township. Whereas the board determines the furtherance of the Fountain Lake Restoration Project and the project goals by the district should enter into a purchase agreement for the acquisition of the address property. Now therefore, be it hereby resolved that the Shark River Watershed District authorizes the district to enter into a purchase agreement for the acquisition of the address property, further authorizes district staff to take all necessary steps to comply with the terms of the purchase agreement and to negotiate terms, including the timing of the closing date. Section 3 further authorizes the district staff to conduct necessary actions and hire outside consultants to review and accomplish the acquisition of the address property and execute any documents necessary to complete the closing, dated this date.
So, would someone like to introduce that resolution?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Here, if I could give
Well, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, if I could give a quick preview of what we're looking at, I put it up on the screen here.
Okay.
So looking up at the screen, this is the parcel right here we're looking at. I believe it's roughly 13.35 acres. Interstate 90 is here. The Stadheim parcel that we have purchased follows this property line and this property line down to here. From here, the Wangan property that we are also have a purchase agreement for. So it borders all of the adjoining property that we have either purchased or a purchase agreement on. This parcel is gonna be key for staging and stormwater control, and that's why it is an important piece to the overall project. So again, we're looking at 3.35 acres. The purchase agreement is almost identical to the Larry Wangan piece as far as earnest money and price. So I think we're trying to be consistent with our other landowners.
Any other discussion? Call the roll.
Manager Delcher?
Aye.
Manager Hogstall?
Aye.
Manager Pasuski?
Aye.
Manager Bakken?
Aye.
Manager Pistorius?
Aye.
Thank you. Item F is a buffer initiative update. As many of you know, there was a buffer law that came out in last year's legislative session. It was updated in this year's legislative session and quite a few changes made to it. What I would like to do is invite the board to a Freeborn County Board workshop that's gonna be held on Tuesday, June 14th of this year. I'm not quite sure of the time yet, but we will get a time for you. There is gonna be a presentation,
What date?
excuse me, June 14th, which is a Tuesday. Well, that is today. Jeez, maybe I should have looked at this a little sooner. Well, maybe it's still going on, I'll find a time. But the nice thing about this is the county board, the Freeborn County Ditch Inspector is giving an update on the buffer initiative along with the Soil and Water Conservation District. The Soil and Water Conservation District is sort of reviewing and going through the buffer program, and then the county and the Watershed District then has to basically enforce or there's a few other policies that the board or the county can set up, and I think it's really important for the board to understand all that. If we can't make it to this June 14th, which is today, meeting, we will try to set up an additional workshop if the board would like.
Mr. Chair, I think it would be appropriate to have Bowser, the SWCD, and in this case, maybe the ditch inspector, actually present to our board, whether it be at our next regular meeting or in a workshop setting. But if the district's gonna play a role in this and have some enforcement issues, I think and Bowser did extend their invitation to come to our board and speak. So I think that would be our next step.
Another item might be if we had one of the staff go to the county board meeting right now and see when they're on the agenda.
We just looked up the agenda. It's actually scheduled, the buffer initiative talk is scheduled for 10:15 to 10:45.
Perfect.
So, what committee would attend that, or who do we want attending it?
Mick is our liaison for the county. You could, Mick?
I can go. It's up at,
Yeah.
Yep.
Commissioner's room? At what time?
10:15 to 10:45.
Okay.
I think they're in the boardroom today.
It's in the Freeborn room.
Their normal board meeting day today.
Either way, it's either the boardroom or Freeborn room.
I'll find it.
The agenda says the Freeborn room.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Again, that's a tentative schedule, so if you could be there a little early, that wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing either, so. But if anybody else would like to attend, we just can't have quorum.
Okay. Item 8G.
Thank you. HG is just an update on the TMDL and RAPS, and I know there was some questions that came up at our last
8G is the
workshop.
credit trading.
Excuse me. 8G, the credit trading, again, we had the workshop with the board last week to go over some initial thoughts and conversation on credit trading. So just a quick overview, Gary, looking for the board's comments on maybe some direction to move with the credit trading idea. So just looking for some feedback from the board.
The credit trading, from what I understand, is between farmers primarily and people that don't farm that need credit. Do we have credits that we can trade?
It's actually any project within the watershed that affects the stormwater permit for the city of Albert Lea. So, dredging project is a big one.
So we would have credits?
That we would play a role in, absolutely.
Okay.
So I think, Mr. Chair, if there could be a motion for staff to pursue the credit trading option in conjunction with, the city of Albert Lea, would be appropriate.
Okay. someone care to introduce that motion?
I would make that motion.
For a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
I guess I'd like to, it was kind of a surprise to me. I thought what that meeting was gonna be all about with the trading, and it wasn't anything close. So I've been trying to do my own research, and if we could maybe have a workshop or something explaining that a little bit more, or tell me where to go to get some more information, that would be helpful, because I've been doing a little, and I'm learning a little, but I just need more.
I think we're all learning
Okay.
actually right now, but we can do that, and if you guys approve this motion, we can pursue some of those things in further detail.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be good to have some scenarios, you know, for us to kind of look at. How many credits do we have? What are our goals? What's our benefit from it and all that stuff? So that we have a better
I'll
knowledge.
make this comment. In effect, you're gonna have to educate the farmers, the potential credits that are available, and see if they will initiate them or go along with them. It's for the betterment of the whole watershed.
Right.
And by doing this and working with those people and educating them, then we can produce credits together that could be used at the city level. So I think the biggest thing is to keep the global picture of it in mind, and that is to improve the entire watershed. So
Right.
we have a motion right now to move forward with it. Any other comments, Al?
My comment would be that, on my list of things to look at, it'd be towards the bottom of the list. I know it's water quality benefits and everything, but our staff has a lot on the agenda. So, you know, maybe it's something we look at later in the year or this winter too, but I'm not putting it at the top of the list right now.
Maybe Andy can comment on that, but I think that it has to work simultaneously through the dredging design in order to capture those credits for the city.
Okay?
So you kind
Yeah,
of gotta move.
I think it's gotta start in.
Yeah, okay. I understand it better now. Thank you.
But thank you for recognizing how busy the staff is. That's-
After that meeting, I took that gentleman, what is his name?
Jim.
Jim.
Out and showed him projects that I've done on my property. The problem is that if you've already done them, or you're practicing conservation, then you don't get any credits. So personally, I gotta lay that aside and forget that part of it, because it's always in the farm program like that. If you practice conservation, they don't reward you for doing that, which is a little crazy to me, but I can get over it and continue to help other people see the light on practicing conservation and putting in these projects that would earn these credits. So I'm for continuing on with it, and again, for the betterment of the whole area. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you. And now to item H. Sorry about that. Item H, with this, I want to just get out there, because there was some conversation during the credit trading workshop that we had from some of the managers about where we were with the TMDL or the RAPs. Again, just a quick overview, our TMDL was written in 2012. We are still waiting for approval of that TMDL. Since then, we've been in the motions of developing a RAPS program for the watershed district. And with that, you will see one of the first handouts you had is a memorandum from Bar Engineering. And one of the biggest issues to point out here is the staging versus phasing argument that we've had with the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, which basically is just a switch of words. And it's not the big issue, but what the bigger issue is where they have the dredging of Fountain Lake within their recommendations for the phased or staged portions of the project. And what we are basically doing in this memorandum, this is probably the most important piece of information for you because it's really highlights the district's concerns to the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency on what we feel needs to be included in the RAPs. So basically, this is really good bedtime reading material if you want to fall asleep real quickly. The rest of it is just information from back and forth, emails and documentation from both the Watershed District and Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. As you can see, there's quite a bit of gap between some of these, just because we are still waiting for the approval of the TMDL, which at this point I still do not know the time frame of that approval or if it will even be approved, and they will just put us right into a RAPS approval. We have been working with a large committee on the RAPS. We've met not very regularly. We met once in 2015, and we have met now twice in 16. So we will have some more continued meetings, and of course, the board will have a chance to review that RAPS. You can see in the handouts, there is a diagram or a sort of a flow chart that sort of gives an idea of what the RAPS will look like, and where I'm coming up with some of the staged versus phasing stuff. So this is, again, just another document that the agency folks are making us do. It's not like we have enough. We have our water plan. We have, the county has their water plan. We have our TMDL. We have our TMDL implementation plan, which again is still draft due to the fact that we're waiting for PCA and EPA to finalize that. So read this over, and if you have any questions, feel free to call staff, and we'll try to answer whatever questions you may have.
You're not looking for a motion or anything right now?
No, not a motion, just an update. Matt, do you have anything to add, or?
I don't think so. It's an ongoing process, and it's directly interrelated with the dredging. There is some reference in there that, there's a strong push from the PCA suggesting that the watershed hasn't done enough upland work, and that you should be waiting on dredging, so we're sensing some resistance to the timing of the dredging. And the message from the district is clearly, a determination has been made that dredging's gonna happen. It's been approved by the voters. The governor signed a bill saying, I authorize $7.5 million. And so there is that kind of interplay in terms of the priority of the dredging. So I think that's really kind of one of the major underlying factors, Andy, that, you'll see interlaced throughout the comments and the response.
Okay, anything else, Andy? Any other questions for Andy? Just ask everybody to get a chance and read through this if you can. Item 9, authorized payment of bills. Claims totaling $68,150.83. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. Non-property tax disbursements totaling $1,091,851.44. Motion to approve that.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Just commented that there's $919,000 in there for a purchase agreement, so it's a big one.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item 10 is manager's items.
Mr. Chair, one thing for the next special meeting, which will be the 28th of June, it will not be in this facility. They have conflict, so we'll probably be looking at somewhere in the county or potentially at our office.
Okay?
Mr. Chair, I have a follow-up. A couple meetings ago, Manager Bakken asked about property tax payments for some of the property that was turned over to the state. And so we've done some research and determined that the state of Minnesota DNR pays what's called PILT, or payment in lieu of taxes. And there is a formula that the state's required to follow depending on what type of land it is and what the classification is. They do make a payment each year to Freeborn County of payment in lieu of taxes. I have asked that they do a calculation for the Headwaters property, just so we get an idea what that PILT payment will be. But just so you, Manager Bakken, you had asked about that.
I appreciate that.
And so there is a PILT payment, but I can't tell you what it is at this point. The state's gonna do an estimate, so we at least have an idea what that payment will be.
I just,
Go ahead.
I have one comment. We had interviews last night at the county boardroom, and I talked to Mr. Delger a little bit about it too, but our country had the Homestead Act that gave the land to the people, and now that we have got to this point in our process here where government sometimes pays more than market value for some land, not all land, but I'm just saying that I'd like to see that some of these things happen, like we take care of the payments from the state and make sure that paperwork is done and whatever, and that when we do some projects that we don't take excess land. Sometimes it's easier for government to do a little bit more than they need to, but, and I'd like to look at some of the property in the future, that maybe it can go into CRP first before the district would put a stormwater area on it or something, so that there's some help from the federal government. So I didn't really rehearse this here, but I'm trying to think through it a little bit more here, but I'd like to see a little more thought sometimes, in the future on, not that there's anything in the past, but I'm just saying that we're gonna have to watch our budget in the long run here too, so my comment, sorry.
And to add with that, on the Stadheim property, we are certifying that property. I'm working with the attorneys and the warranty deed and Al and the NRC, or excuse me, the USDA and the FSA to certify those acres. So it just kind of goes to what, before we block it up into some sort of permanent, I think we keep the land active.
Any other comments? As far as this buffer initiative deal, just to make sure that we don't have too many people up there, I think I'll attend it with you. Al, do you go? No? Anybody else?
And when is this, the buffer meeting?
At 10:15 during the county.
I can attend.
Okay? So that way we'll keep it at those three. Any other managers' items? Take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We are adjourned.